गिरिवारधारी जय गोपी जनावल्लभ गिरिवारधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना 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 यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवारधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवारधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरो वनचारी यमुना तीरो वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परम परिव्राजकाचार्य अशोतर श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणा अरविंद भक्ति विधान स्वामी जगतगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की जय all glorious assembled devotees all glorious assembled devotees all glorious assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are fortunate that we have the association of His Grace Dwarkadhish Prabhu. Dwarkadhish Prabhu is a postgraduate MD in internal medicine and a senior physician at the Bhakti Vedant Hospital and Research Institute in Mira Road, Bombay. He is also the co-founder, trustee, and head of Department of Medicine. His spiritual quest brought him to Iskcon in 1982 and was fully satisfied when he read Srila Prabhupada's book and got initiated in 1986. His good wife, Vishaka Priya Mataji, was introduced to Bhakti in 1985 when she was in ninth grade, and took initiation in the same batch in 1986. Of course, at the time, they did not know each other. But senior well-wishing Vaishnavas catalyzed their relationships and they got married in 1990. They were the first couple to get married in Radha Gopinath temple. And the Yagna ceremony was performed by their Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. They have been serving as counselors since over 3 decades and offering weekly deity worship since the installation of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. They are part of the Grihastha Vision Committee at Radha Gopinath Temple and have been guiding hundreds of devotees through lectures and seminars on leadership, Vaishnava lifestyles, premarital training, and marital counseling, thus helping couples to lead a harmonious, Krishna conscious family life. With the intent to share what they have learned and gathered over years, they have been traveling in India to Kolkata, Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore, Kolhapur, Nasik, etc. regularly, and overseas to Mauritius, Malaysia, USA. One of their favorite services is acting and directing professional dramas at their annual drama festival. You may watch these beautiful, heartwarming, soul-touching dramas on YouTube of RG Vidya. Vishaka Priya Mataji has been a successful IYS girls trainer through her annual summer camp since last 20 years. Basically, they love being with Vaishnavas and having 6 loving exchanges with them. I request everyone to heartily welcome them. And by chanting Hari Bol 3 times.
Hare Krishna. So as you heard about Dwarkadhish Prabhu and Vishaka Premaji, I would like to add a couple of words more to this. In the very early years of the inception of Radha Gopinath Temple, there were a handful of devotees who used to come together as counselors and frame policies for the guidance of the Grihastha Ashrama. So I used to get a chance to watch who are all the people who are contributing to the framing of Grihastha Ashrama development policies. So he was very active in that. His Grace Krishna Chandra Prabhu, His Grace Dwarkadhish Prabhu, they have a very, very big hand in what you see today, like a big Vata Vriksha grown in the Radha Gopinath temple, being like right hand to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And also they were attendees of one of the very early day yatra, way back in 1986, 87, when His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj used to take yatra with about 30-40 people only. So they have attended the yatras and have had personal association with Maharaj very intimately for years together. And they have also treated Maharaj for his health also. In Karla, there's a place between Pune and Mumbai. They personally treated him. And also they have taken many personal instructions from him and guidance from him,
which they transmit as they travel across the globe. One of the things I would say personally that I cherish the most in him is the mood of a servant that he most emphasizes. Unassuming servant, transparent servant, being a genuine servant of Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. So that is what they both live for, and they have emulated that model from Maharaj, and they also transmit it and teach it wherever they go. Uh, uh, Whenever I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is one character you all know very well, Srivas Thakur and Malini Mataji. So I would, whenever I would read that character, I would remember this family because that kind of utter dedication they have shown. Externally, he is a doctor like Murari Gupta, but what kind of real spiritual doctor he is, you will come to know when you associate with him personally. So I have been inviting him to Pune also. In Pune, they visit even families one-on-one for guiding the couples. The daytime they visit, morning, evening they give classes, programs. We have a Chetana program as well as a girls 3-day camps and all, which Vishakapriya Mataji takes lead in Pune. All the Pune ladies, they see her as a role model to take inspiration from. Similarly, from Krishna Kishore Prabhu down to all the youth preachers, for them, Dwarkadhish Prabhu is like a great hero. Because we all need role model examples in our lives to appreciate and follow. So they have been very wonderful couple in that sense. And now they are also traveling across the globe to different places now. So you was telling me, although I have a medical profession, for me, my heart is practicing and preaching Krishna consciousness. You should see some of those dramas which they did in Drama Festival, many of the Chaitanya Leelas, which they have performed. As well as Ranath Maharaj used to sit and watch all the 3-day drama festival because it is performed by devotees, putting their heart. And each of those dramas are magnum opus, minimum 1 hour, sometimes they are 2 hours also. I saw one of the Mahaprakash Tila drama was, I think, 2 hours, I think, correct? It was 2 full hours, some of the dramas. You can imagine to put up a drama for 2 hours, they would practice for 4 months, day in and day out, bringing groups of devotees together. So they are doing a lot in not only Bombay, but many parts of the world. They come here like once a year or so. Very rarely we get their company for a couple of days. So let us welcome them to Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Temple. Haribo! Prabhu, this Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Temple and Radha Madan Mohan were installed by Srila Prabhupada here. And Prabhupada personally has come here to Madan Mohan Temple, 40 days or so in his lifespan. 40 to 50 days he has spent time here. You see behind there is one very senior devotee, His Grace Anandamaya Prabhu. So Prabhupada sent him here. In 1971 he came here. Since then he has been around here. Every morning Prabhuji comes for the Mangalarti and all the whole morning program he attends here. So with his help, we got all these photos you see here put up. And Prabhupada in South India. And he has also helped in bringing out a book called as Prabhupada in South India. I will give you a copy of that book. And Prabhuji he has been in charge of BBT here in this temple. And so this temple is in that sense a very ancient temple of Iskcon here, where Prabhupada personally paid attention. Tirupati and Hyderabad, Prabhupada paid a lot of attention. Prabhupada said a lot of pious people here, everything. So we wish you to come more often and guide all the devotees here. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Radhesham Prabhu is a prolific speaker, right? Everyone knows. I'm told that he speaks at such speed and such length that you cannot match up even through hearing. Right? So when he speaks the glories of somebody like ourselves, he's prolifying that also. That is his glory, that he sees some good in both of us. But in very short and very brief, he's our adorable, worshipable God brother. And for us to simply be a part of some plan which he's making in his Krishna consciousness, attempts to make the world more happier, we thought we should, as you say, hold on to his dhoti. That wherever he goes, we can follow in his footsteps and assist him in some small little way, then we will be considering ourselves very, very fortunate. Hare Krishna. So let's begin the Bhagavatam class. Reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 17, text number 22. Yep. Prithur Uvacha Vasudhe Tvam Vadishyami Sasana Parakmukhim Bhagam Bharhishi Ya Vrinkte Na Tanoti Cha Naha Vasu Praturuvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Bharishi Ya Vrinkte Na Tanoti Cha No Vasu Prituruvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Bharishi Yanvrikte Natanoti Cha No Vasu Prituruvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Bharishi Yanvrikte Natanoti Cha No Vasu Prituruvacha Vasudev Tvam Bhavishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Varishi Yanvrinkte Natanoti Cha No Vasu Chaturvacha Vasudev Tvam Bhavishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Varishi Yanvrinkte Natanoti Cha No Vasu Pituruvacha Vasudev Tvam Bhavishyami Matsasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Bharishi Yanvrinkte Natanoti Cha No Vasu. Ladies, Pituruvacha Vasudev Tvam Bhavishyami Machasana Paranmukhim Bhagam Bharishi Yanvrinkte Natanoti Cha No Vasu. Prithuvacha, King Prithu replied, Vasudhe, my dear earthly planet, Tvam, you, Vadhishyami, I shall kill, Mat, my, Sashana, rulings, Parakmukhim, disobedient to, Bhagam, your share, Barhishi, in the Yagya, Ya, who, Vrinkte, accepts, Na, not, Tanoti, does deliver, Cha, and Na, to us, Vasu, produce. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. King Prithu replied to the earthly planet, my dear earth, you have disobeyed my orders and rulings. In the form of a demigod, you accepted your share of the yagyas we performed, but in return, you have not produced sufficient food grains. For this reason, I must kill you. Report. The cow-shaped earthly planet submitted that she not only was a woman, but was innocent and sinless as well. Thus she argued that she should not be killed Besides, she pointed out that being perfectly religious minded, the king could not violate the religious principles that forbade killing a woman. In reply, Maharaj Prithu informed her that first of all, she had disobeyed his orders. This was her first sinful activity. Secondly, he accused her of taking her share of the yajnas, sacrifices, but not producing food grains in return. Om Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Chitano Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Yuta Mashmamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhantamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Vancha Kalpadrabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. So the reference to this beautiful story enunciated in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is that when this Satyavesha avatar of the Lord, Maharaj Prithu, was coronated the king of the planet, at that particular point of time, there was a great scarcity of food in this world. The people were tilling the land. They were not lazy. They were doing their work in terms of producing food. And yet there was so much of scarcity. Like a doctor diagnoses the disease, Prithu Maharaj, after prolonged thinking, analyzed as to why this is happening. Why is the world suffering? As a responsible king who is more like a father to his kingdom. The father suffers when he sees hungry children. The king suffered because he saw hungry praja. And therefore, in his heart and mind, he started meditating on the cause. And he realized that the earth had held back the seeds which were given to her by Lord Brahma, time of creation, to allow free produce of grains and fruits and vegetables, etc. Right? And therefore, Maharaj Prithu became angry and he wanted to chastise the earth. Who then, to accept some sort of relief from the wrong she has done, she took the form of a cow, so that to evoke some amount of softness from the king, so that he becomes a little, forgiving. And she started running all over the place. And yet the king would not release her. And then she starts pleading her cause by saying that, I am a woman, I'm a cow, and you are a king, you are a release, you are dharmagnya, and you should not do this like that. And the king heard, of course, very patiently, but he had his reasons to do what he was doing. And he became angry like fire. When the Lord becomes angry, it's a very big thing, right? The Lord does not become angry like us, for small, stupid reasons. When we become angry, you know how we become angry. We become angry for more stupid reasons because we are stupid. But if the Lord is angry, then it is something very special. Everything he does is special because Krishna is special. It's very, very special. So his anger also is very special. You know, he wasn't going to take that argument of being a cow and all that. He said, I don't want to hear all that. You have disobeyed me, right? My rulings. And Prabhupada says that that is the first sin. Very powerful statement of Prabhupada. The first sin. And that brings us back to the theology of the biblical times. What is called in biblical times as the original sin. What is that sin which we performed, which brought you and me and the whole world to this material existence? What was that? It starts with a little bit about that background of the biblical thought. When Adam and Eve, this is an allegorical story as we know. This is allegorical. When Adam and Eve were created in the Garden of Eden, what is called as paradise. But the Lord, we know who the Lord is. They don't know who the Lord is. You know the Lord is Krishna. They said the Lord, the God. And then he said, this whole Garden of Eden is for all of you to enjoy. All the gardens, everything here which I have created is mine. And since you are my loved ones, you can enjoy this entire garden. They are very happy. But sometimes there's always a but, right? The dollar has to give a little but there. So that tree you see there, there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Don't eat the fruits from that tree. Everything else is yours. Go ahead. And Adam and Eve started living there and they started enjoying. And it said then the serpent came, slithering to the tree. And who the serpent? The serpent is Satan. Whispering. Sorry, left ear. In the right ear you take Gayatri Mantra and left ear is the wrong. So he started whispering in the ears. You know what? That tree is very good fruit. Bahut acha hai. You eat that fruit. There is a special reason why he told you not to eat that fruit. You eat that fruit, you become like God himself. No, how can I eat that fruit? And then ultimately, Adam and Eve, they succumb to that temptation. Like you and I also often succumb to temptations of Satan. Satan is Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. And then Adam fetched that apple and ate it. The moment he ate that apple, he lost his purity. He lost his innocence. He lost his love for the Lord and started thinking himself as separate from the Lord with separate interests, separate desires. He saw differentiation. We say, we are one with the Lord, right? We started seeing difference. And that is called as the original sin. And I'm reminded of that. This verse, my dear friends, glorifies and brings out a very powerful principle in our bhakti. What is that? The power of obedience. And the power of obedience. Prabhupada says that is the first qualification of a disciple. Obedience. Because that is the first sin. To be disobedient to the Lord is the first sin. Therefore, our spiritual journey starts in this world with adopting the virtue of obedience. When we look at the Holy Scriptures, the powerful characters we have in our Scriptures, let's take, for example, a basic scripture which we worship, Bhagavad Gita. It starts off with the premise of Arjuna not wanting to do what the Lord wanted him to do. Correct? in simple terms, right? The Lord had designed the whole affair of the Mahabharata to get rid of from this world of impious people who were hampering the growth of dharma, right? And he wanted to make his dear devotee Arjuna as his wonderful instrument to perform this act. So when Arjuna expresses reluctance and gives up his Gandiva, the Lord had to speak up. He had to speak up, right? And we won't go to details of the Gita, obviously, but we will draw the conclusion here. What is the conclusion of the Gita? It is not important to know only the verses. It's nice to know the verses, read them. But along with the verses is to understand the conclusion. Any computer can also by heart the verses and speak them out. Any parrot can do that. Any child can learn. And we should learn the Gita also. But for us as sadhakas, we are interested more in the conclusion. The conclusion is 3 words. 3 words which are worshipable for all of us. What is that? Karishye Vachanam Tava. That means I shall now do Nastamo Smritir Labdva. Right? My illusion is dispelled. When we read the holy scriptures of the Lord, if this is a conclusion which comes into our heart, then our scriptural reading is perfect. Right? We should do all courses, read scriptures, discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, discuss all the scriptures thoroughly well. Sandarbhas, everything. There's so much to learn and listen and hear and understand. However, all that should end in the 3 words. What is that? Karishye Vachanam Tava. Why? Because this is the act of obedience. What is obedience? I shall now do as per your desire. What this says, thy will be done. Not mine, but let thy will be done. Right? So what is scripture ultimately? The scripture is nothing but the will of the Lord. That is all that the scripture is all about. What he wants his children in this world to do, that is scripture. Right? So the will of the Lord, well, Arjuna had the Lord speak to him directly. But for you and me, he's speaking through the Gita. For you and me, he's speaking through Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So that, the golden word is, what does obedience mean? Obedience means submissive compliance. Submissive compliance and accepting humbly in our life the will of the Lord. This is the definition of obedience and Krishna consciousness. It is very interesting. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram God himself, would not preach till he received the order from Mahaprabhu. He is elder to Mahaprabhu by 12 years. And he was going around in Vrindavan, stringing a Sringar Bhatt, just waiting a Sringar Bhatt, holy land of Vrindavan next to Yamuna, waiting for the Lord to call him. And when he knew from his Trikal Ganyan that the Lord is starting a Sankirtan movement in Navadvip, he went from Sringar Bhatt to house of Nandanacharya. Right? We know the story. And when the Lord instructed that you should get married and preach in Bengal, the temple was like this. Thy will be done. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not preach love of God message. He came, he's a Prema avatar. He's Prema avatar. He came to teach us Prema, how to love Krishna. Right? But he would not pass on the process of Prema avatar. Even though he was experiencing Prema in his life, after going to Gaya, he transformed. from a scholar into a Vaishnava. We call it a game changer. Call it game changer. Mahaprabhu's game changer is visit to Gaya. उधर आने के बाद गया. You know, like that, listen. गया के बाद ही गया. He lost his scholarship. He became like that. But till Ishwara Puri did not tell him to preach, he would not preach. So we see the Lord also in his own life holding high and sacred the principle of obedience. Is it not? What is the sole, you can say, the USP of Lord Ramchandra? What stands out most in his character? Right? Is his loyalty and obedience to his father. Here is God himself again. Let's not forget. Not a Jivatma. The Lord Apani Achari Prabhu Jivera Sikhai. Correct? Apani Achari Prabhu. According to the Lord, when he comes by his own sweet will, by his achar, Saber Jivera Sikhai, we are Jivas, he has to teach. So the Lord teaches through scripture, through the holy saints, the prophets, right? He teaches in so many ways. Through nature he teaches, but most of all he will teach when he comes himself in this world. Because as Prabhu said, the world needs role models. If there wasn't Srila Prabhupada, we would not know what is Shuddha Bhakti. It would remain a theoretical affair. If Mahaprabhu had not come, we would not have known what is Prema Bhakti. It would remain a theoretical affair. When Mahaprabhu came and showed, depicted, now this is Prema Bhakti. This is love. This is intense love for Radha and Krishna. Right? So Lord Ramchandra comes in this world. Now please remember, when Ramchandra accepted to be loyal to his father's desire, practically everybody opposed this. Said, no, don't do this. Bharat Maharaj said, please. And he, the whole story is there. He got various arguments he gave. He went to Chitrakoot and said, no, brother, you should not do this. I will take it on his behalf. And, you go to the kingdom. You are the eldest son. He gave so many reasons, list of reasons why Ram should not follow Dasharatha Maharaj. Right? Ayodhyavasis came and said, no. Vasishtha Muni came and said, no. Everybody is saying something else, but Ram says, no. Obedience, the will of my father. Of course, he's not ordinary father. He's a Vaishnava father. We should qualify that. He's a Vaishnava father. He's a great Param Vaishnava. So Ram exalts the quality of what? Obedience. Right? And therefore, we want to hold this principle very strictly in our life. Because obedience is actually an act of humility. The acharyas say, Boro dukha paiyachi swatantra jivana. Right? Boro dukha paiyachi. The biggest cause of sin, dukha is what? Swatantra. When you start thinking, I am independent. So, the whole problem is the abuse of God-given independence. That is our only problem in this world. Our problem is not no job or COVID or... of course, COVID is a problem, sorry. But in a different sense. Yeah, in a different sense, right? Of course, these problems come and go. COVID will come and COVID will go. Job will come, job will go. Right? All this comes, but this problem doesn't go. What is that? Our desire to act independent. Just imagine, the Lord has given us minute independence because we are His minute part and parcel. And yet, how stupid of us that we abuse that independence to do our own will. Right? To not bow down to the Lord. Therefore, obedience is stressed so much. Especially, this quality is powerfully inculcated and indoctrinated in the military. In military parlance, when a cadet goes in the Navy or Army or Air Force, the first thing he's taught is what? Sir, sir. No questions are asked there. Sir. When something is told, he just raises his hand and sir. Right? Because in the war, you cannot think, well, you cannot do like that. It says, shoot. The army is attacking. You can't argue with the sir, but should we attack from that side? Should we attack from that side? Should we use a missile or a tank or what should we? Shh, do it. Right? So in a war, you have to just follow orders, right? And no questions asked. So military, is a place where they teach you absolute obedience, almost. And disobedience is severely punished. It's a cognizable offense. Right? And one of the ways of obedience in military is showing respect. Right? Obedience also means showing respect. Right? When will you not follow somebody's order? You don't respect him. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know. But when you respect somebody, said, who said this? Who said it? Who said it? Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada said it. So you may think, we said, who said this? Guru Maharaj said. Guru Maharaj. Who is a Guru Maharaj? Right? So, the moment we say that, so therefore, in military they teach that. If you see a senior person walking through, the cadet is just walking, right? And he sees a superior one. Sir! If they don't do that, they have to run with a bag of 8 to 10 kilos on their back and take 8 rounds of a huge stadium in the hot sun without food or water. Hare Krishna. Better to do this now. Better to do this than take this what they call as imposition. Remember in school you saw imposition? If you don't get up when the teacher comes in the class, imposition. I shall not do this again. Something like that. I don't know if they did that. Sometimes I got punished like that, did some imposition. 108 times you write down. Not 108, 100 times. So this is called as imposition. Punished. So rigorously you are trained in the science of obedience. Right? Where you are in a war, obedience is paramount. You have to obey, means you have to follow as you have been trained. Right? You've been trained in a drill. When a war comes, you walk like that, you go like this, do this. Right? You follow protocols. That's it. No questions asked. Similarly, we are in a war, my dear friends. Let's not forget that. We may not see, our problem is, we may think this country is our enemy, that country is our enemy, because we see them with machine guns and tanks and missiles, across the border, across the LOC. You see them, that they are, all, creating mischief there and, lining up their armed forces and all that. But here, in our problem is, it's like Shalva, Shalva. Shalva was attacking when in Dwarkapuri, when the war took place. Pradyumna is fighting with Shalva. Shalva is attacking from here, there, we don't see Shalva anywhere. One arrow coming from here, one missile coming from there, zoop, 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 zoop. Where do you shoot your, astras? Because you don't see him. He's like attacking from everywhere. So Maya is like Shalva. She's attacking from everywhere. And you don't see, where is Maya? Maya is everywhere. Just like Krishna is everywhere. If Maya is like the shadow of Krishna, if the object is everywhere, the shadow should be everywhere also, correct? If the object is everywhere, then shadow also be everywhere, because Chaya Vayasya Bhuvanan Vibharti Durga. She is Chaya, right? So like the Chaya is also everywhere. Where is she? She's inside also. She's outside also. Right? And therefore, obedience brings up a very powerful quality called as vigilance. Right? You have to be vigilant. Very, very vigilant. When you are vigilant of the Maya's attacks, because every Vaishnava, every sadhaka must understand that we are in a very vulnerable position. If any time any country starts feeling, nobody will attack us, we are very powerful. Finished. then they go off guard, no? If the country starts feeling we are very powerful, we have got 120 tanks and so many warheads we have got, and then what happens to that overconfidence? Then what? They lower down their guards, right? And the enemy can understand that, okay, these guys are not patrolling properly, all this is reduced, and they will attack. At the least expected moment, they will attack, right? So similarly, we also have to be like that. If you are not vigilant, I will attack. And she has got such subtle ways of attacking. Of course, for us, sometimes the gross ways are difficult to handle. But talk of subtle ways, subtle pride and subtle envy. Those are little, postgraduate part of the war. For us, first obedience means no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no. It starts with that 35% passing mark. School mein, this is 35%. 4 regular principles, 16 round. This is just beginning of the career in Krishna consciousness. There is much more ahead, but you start off with this. And oftentimes, devotees fail in that. The 4th regular principle is very difficult sometimes for people, right? Everyone knows what is the 4th regular principle. Difficult. We fall prey to temptations. Married man, unmarried man, married woman, difficult. Temptations. Because we go into a state of false self-confidence. So therefore, it is said for a devotee, he must always practice the virtue of healthy fear. Healthy fear. If the doctor is going to treat COVID patients and he goes without mask, without PPE kit, without any of this protection, and he just says, mere ko kuch nahi hoga, nothing will happen to me, right? He goes to the ward in the ICU where there are 50 patients who are having COVID. Within 3 days, the guy is going to die, the doctor, because he'll be run over by millions of viruses in his body. So if you go to a war zone, you go to a infected zone, you have to wear your own, right? So that is called as healthy fear. It is not paranoia. But if a devotee does not have healthy fear, he will never be able to take shelter of Krishna. Our process, my dear devotees, is to take shelter. Sarvat Mayanam Sharanam Sharanyam. One of the Lord's name is Sharanyam. That is one of his names, Sharanyam. One who is worthy of all surrender. It's called as Sharanyam. Right? So it is said that how did Devaki give birth to Krishna? Mother Devaki Mata, she represents bhakti. She represents bhakti. And what is Kamsa? Kamsa represents fear of material existence. This is Acharya's analysis. Very important. And before Devaki is born, before Krishna is born, there are Shadagarbhas, 6, right? Sons of Devaki, who have to be first killed. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya. Unless we kill those anarthas in the heart, Krishna will not take his birth into the simhasana of our heart. The heart is like a simhasana. But who's sitting on the simhasana right now? Our false ego is sitting there. The throne is there. The throne has been, like the demons will come and overthrow Indra, right? So also, Mayadevi overthrows Krishna, overpowers Krishna in the heart, and she occupies. And therefore, a false ego governs our life. Everything we do, say, speak, act is based on the governance of the false ego. We can watch ourselves. You can see. Most of our activities are governed by false ego. Most of our activities. Right? If false ego is not satisfied, we will not do them only. We won't do them. Right? But false ego governs everything, including even after we come to Krishna consciousness, that seems to be something working. It is still very active. It is very, very difficult to dislodge false ego because it is subtlest element to destroy. So when Devaki mother, she went by one promise. She had that fear of Kamsa, right? And therefore Kamsa killed those Shadagarbhas. After that was done, then Sankarshan Dev came as Balramji. When we destroy these anarthas, then Guru Nishtha takes charge of our consciousness completely. Because Balramji is Guru. Right? When the sadhaka with his own endeavors tries to eliminate these 6 anarthas with a lot of endeavor, he fights against them like a soldier. He doesn't want to give into lust. He doesn't want to give into his greed. He doesn't want to give into his anger. He fights them. He fights. He doesn't give in to them. Because he's a fighter, spiritual warrior. Right? Because he fights them, then the spiritual master enters into the heart and blesses you with Guru Nishtha. When Guru Nishtha comes, the whole heart is cleaned up. The Gundicha Marjanam, the Lord cleaned up the whole Simhasana of the Lord. And then the 8th child is born. Krishna is born. What kept Devaki going? How can a mother go through all this, Baba? Mother going through all this, no mother can imagine. Child being smashed in front of the rock, in front of their own eyes. What kept her going? 2 things. One was, she knew that when Vasudeva was born, her good husband was born, there were drum beats in the sky. The drum beats in the sky, drum beats are called as Dundubi. Called as Dundubi, drum beats. Therefore, one of his names is called as Anaga Dundubi. Right? So it was announced in the Akashvani when Vasudeva was born that this person will be the father of God. He will be the father of the Lord himself. And Devaki was so much feeling so fortunate to marry a person with the father of God. That means she will be the mother of God. Being a mother of God, to become mother of a regular child itself is a big thing. Right? To become the mother of God? What is that? No? We can scarcely understand that emotion. What it means to be the mother of God. We can't, because we are not so pure. And second thing which kept her going is the Akashvani, which took place, right? At the time of marriage. Hey, Kamsa, you fool! The 8th child of your sister will be the cause of your death. So she knew. She had heard that also she had heard. Right? The 8th child is going to be the divine child. So he put A and B together. Vasudeva is the father, and the 8th child is going to be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th one is going to come. Right? So in the back of her heart, back of her mind, she knew that this is the promise. This is the promise. We also, my dear devotees, have promises of the Lord given in abundance in the Bhagavad Gita. Devi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mammevaye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. This is the Lord's powerful promise. This verse is called by the Acharyas as a mission statement of the Bhagavad Gita. This explains the Lord's mission in this world. Right? The Lord is saying very clearly that you, my dear devotees, my dear friends, my dear children, you cannot for nuts overcome Maya with your own power. You cannot. Because she is not even from me. If I am all powerful, she also is all powerful. Nobody, including powerful people like Vishwamitra Muni and etc., you know the story. We don't even get into that now, right? Even they could not get rid of Maya. What took power, our sleepy rounds, sleepy Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Our sleepy rounds, how can we, take with all our minds going in 50 directions? Tomorrow I have to do this, today I have to do that, college is there, this is there, my child is suffering, this, that, I have to pay the check, this, that, everything, all mind is everywhere. Business way is not given, is, that vendor has not come, Hare Krishna. My patient is not well in the ICU, oh, Hari Bol. All sort of, where is Krishna in the chanting? Hari Bol. With all this type of, distant chanting, you think we can overcome Maya? Very difficult, right? We need to become more focused, obviously. Anyway, so this is the type of problem we have. So the Lord is saying, you cannot overcome Maya. Even if you try, you cannot overcome. But that doesn't mean we should not try. He said, but the Lord is saying we cannot try, so why should I try? To try. Forget it. What is there to try in that? The Lord is saying you cannot try. No, then you are finished. Then you become simply a puppet. Then you agree to become just a puppet in the hands of Maya. You become like a football. What is football? Kick him here, tack. If you kick him there, tack. Tack. You just get kicked by Maya. Wherever the football is, you just go like football. Everywhere. Right? Keep bouncing here and there. No independence whatsoever. Right? But the fact that we say, I'm going to try, the two-finger formula of Yashodamai is so important. God helps them. Only those who help themselves. So our sadhana bhakti is a means of showing our endeavor to really become obedient to the will of God. What is sadhana bhakti? It has many constituents of chanting, reading. But what does it what is a bhava in the heart? The sadhana has to have a bhava. Everything has to have a bhava. Yeah, Krishna bhavnamrita sangha. So bhava has to be there. It is not mechanical. It is not like that only. The bhava is, my dear Lord, this is my insignificant attempt to actually become obedient to your will, to surrender to you, to live my life as per your desire, not according to my whims and fancies. Let your will dominate my life. You have supreme dominion over all that is in this world. All the sun, the moon, the planets, the stars, the sky, everything is governed by you. The moon is rising by the fear of the Lord. The sun is rising by the fear of the Lord. Right? The wind is moving by the fear of the Lord. Everything happening by the fear of the Lord. Because they are obedient. Demigods are what? They are obedient to the Lord. Powerful demigods are working unto your will. And I am so stupid. I don't want to act according to your will. My dear Lord, I am doing this sadhana bhakti. Please, I want to follow you. I want to become a anugami. I want to become a anugami. I want to become a follower. That bhava in the heart is a symbol, is a symptom of our internal sincerity of consciousness. When that bhava is there, the Lord perceives. He doesn't see the externals, how many rounds you have done and how many nirjals you have done. He doesn't see. He sees what is the bhav. He sees what is the mood. Right? He sees what is the bhav, what is coming out of that. Even if it's just simple basic 16 rounds or maybe 128 rounds, whatever the number of rounds, basic 16 rounds we all know, we must follow. But the bhav is what? My dear Lord, I want to follow. I want to become a follower. I'm not the leader. I'm not the master. I'm not the controller. I'm not the enjoyer. I'm a follower. A servant only follows. When we say, Jivar Swarup Hoy, Nitya Krishna Das or Krishna Nitya Das. What is Das? What is servant? Servant means follow. The servant doesn't argue with the boss. Sir, what about that? Servant doesn't argue with the boss. Do we argue with our boss when the boss gives an assignment in the office? We say we argue with him. We just, yes, sir. We say, yes, sir. Right? And in the office, we say, yes, sir. But in other times, we say, hey, why? So we are also all hypocritical in our behavior sometimes, right? The Lord is saying something, we say, why? Why should I surrender to you, Krishna? Boss is saying, for surrender, yes, sir. Because your paycheck, he is going to pay you money after the end of the month. If you don't follow, you won't get the paycheck. Right? So we follow our bosses very humbly, willingly, unwillingly. When it comes to Krishna, we say, why? Mamak Sharanam Raja, why? Why should I surrender to Krishna? That shows our willingness to be disobedient to the Lord. Our inappropriate behavior of not wanting to surrender to Krishna's will is kind of a disobedience. Right? And therefore, my dear friends, through our sadhana bhakti, what is Prabhupada's greatest glory? Sri Prabhupada is saying, Nachao, nachao, nachao sahi mate. It is an act of complete, wholesale obedience to the will of Krishna. My dear Lord, I have no idea in this crazy place of Boston you have brought me here. I have no idea what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. I just no capacity to think I can change these people's hearts. I cannot. But since you have brought me here, it is your desire. If you send a person like me to Boston, it must be not a blade of grass moves without a sanction. If you transferred me from Jaladuta across from Kiderpur dockyard to Boston dockyard, and you made me survive through all these heart attacks, seasickness, severe, pains and suffering. If you kept me alive, you did not allow my body to die and perish. You kept me alive and going because I would have otherwise perished. So how can a man of 70 years handle heart attack without any medication? Not possible. But if you kept me alive, it must be your desire. So now I say, my dear Lord, I just let go. I just let go of my stupid wills and I'm surrendering to you. So when we chant Kirtan mantra, when we chant Kirtan, we raise our hands, right? And when Mahaprabhu comes with the hands raised, that is the bhav. For hand raising, we do two mudras, right? We do like this first. When the singer is singing, we do like this. We sing Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. When we are in chorus, we go like this, right? This indicates welcoming the Lord's message in the heart. You say like this. What does namaskar mean? We're opening our hearts to the Lord's message. Yes. And this indicates your willingness to follow that message of the Lord. This is welcoming sign. If somebody comes to house, aiye. What do we do, sir? How do we welcome people like this? Na? When somebody, air hostess says namaskar, welcome, sir. Right? We have our custom, Indian custom, Vedic custom. So when you do this, we are welcoming the Lord's message in our. when the fellow comes, when the thief comes, first thing he will say is what? You're not said like this. He'll say, he's not come like this. He's aye. We don't say it's not aye like that. When the guy comes, so the thief comes, hands up. And you cannot do anything. Just go like that. Right? So that is what we want to do. So before the Lord is not saying, not forcing us to do that, but we want to raise our hands lovingly and say, my dear Lord. We raise our hands, and by raising our hands, we are willing, accepting that please make me dance the way you want me to dance. I'm dancing in the business of Maya for so many million lifetimes, chewing the chewed of this material world, hopelessly in futile existence. But now, I have come to my senses. I want to dance unto you. So then, when we do that and accept in our hearts, Karishye Vachanam Tava, right? I will live this life based on your desire, expressed through Sri Guru, the sadhus, and the Shastra. When we will to do that, then our life is on the path of perfection. Hare Krishna. Any questions and comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for elaborating so much on the problem of disobedience to God. Actually, you mentioned that Devaki means when that 6 children were killed by Kamsa. So you told that a sadhaka has to fight the 6 anarthas on by himself. But then we also have this statement that we all depend on mercy of Lord. That means what? Means how will, without depending,
We
how
have to
we will
fight
fight?
the anarthas by ourselves. But what is the process of fighting? That the Lord has given. Na? When you say fight means what? Who gave the ammunitions to you? Fight means ammunition, power, courage. Who gave that to you? Ammunition who has given to you? What is the ammunition? Vaishnav Sangha, Vaishnav Seva, Harinam. Who gave that? So when I say we have to fight, but we have to fight based on the instruments of fighting given by the Lord. Is it not? So he is always in the equation. The Lord is always in the equation. He's never off the equation. So we fight, but he supplies the gun, the machine gun, the tanks, the gunpowder, everything he supplies. And you keep fighting. Right? So who's fighting? Arjuna is fighting. Is the Lord fighting for him? Who's supplying all the energy to fight? Who's the power in the Gandiva? when the Lord went away from this world, the Gandiva, the Gandiva become like like one of those things they use in a drama, which they put the arrow goes like that and it just falls right next to the actor only. It falls there only. Everyone laughs. He's supposed to kill the enemy. Enemy is 10 feet away, but it falls, it just falls there only. So Gandhi become like that. He couldn't defeat a small a nomadic tribe of Bheels, The power in our sadhana comes from the Lord. So the Lord is always, but He wants to see us fight. The more He wants to see us fight, the more He empowers us with Shraddha to fight more. Right? So we do the fighting and He supplies all the. I am the ability in man, Krishna says, is it not? Purusham Nrishu. What is the meaning of Purusham Nrishu? I am the ability in your sadhana. That is Purusham Nrishu. Isn't it? Make sense? Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danda Pranam. Prabhuji, as in today's Katha, you told that our first 35% of our spiritual service is based upon 4 regulative principles and 16 rounds. So even though we are trying to complete our 16 rounds, but we lack in 4 regulative principles. For example, like they won't eat non-veg, but at least they are having onion garlic. That sadhaka is convincing to their parents that I don't want to eat. But even though after trying so many requests also, they are not accepting. So he comes in a mentality that even I'm not able to do that, then what is the use of sadhaka? So at that time, how to remove that negativity from their mind?
Oji, onion garlic is not a big problem. It's like, having mosquito bite, small mosquito bite. And other things are like cancer. So what is the comparison between cancer and mosquito bite? The cancer is cancer, it will kill you. Mosquito bite, that, right? So onion garlic and all, yeah, it is a but it is not something which we want to take it so seriously. Eventually, in the right time, that will happen. We are concerned about more major problems of our life, right? They are the major issues. What are the big rocks? Onion garlic is like a small sand. The big rocks is our disobedience, right? So, even though we may not follow onion garlic based on the situation of our home, that's all right. But are we doing other things you're supposed to do? There's so many other things we're supposed to do also. Are we doing all that? Right? If we're doing all that, Krishna will look at it with this thing, okay, he has some situation where onion garlic is there and parents are not in. Okay, chota, small thing. Don't put onion garlic so much into your consciousness. A Vaishnava is not known because he does not eat onion garlic. That is a Vaishnava. ऐसा लिखा है किधर भी? Asatsanga Tyaga, I Vaishnava, that is Vaishnava. Not the one who eats non-garlic garlic is a Vaishnava. Never written like that, right? So unnecessarily sometimes we make tea, coffee as big issues, right? They are important for us, definitely. But the bigger things are, our mood of surrender, our willingness to really serve the Lord, in our faith in the holy name, our commitment to the process of Krishna consciousness wholesale. That is far more important. Right? The Lord will perceive sincerity in these ways. And some things here and there, it's okay. It's okay. Deal with the big problems first. That takes time, that takes energy. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Prabhu?
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a beautiful class, Prabhu. You elaborated with very nice examples and illustrations to remember the most important theme of obedience. Thank you very much. When he was traveling in the West, there is one Maharaj in Dallas. His name is His Holiness Ritadwaja Maharaj.
With the Dwaja.
Ritadwaja
Yes.
Maharaj. So I was fortunate to have a couple of hours of his association. So one of the points he was telling was in teenage, there are many children who are ready to fold their palms like this and even bow down externally. But internally, they keep their privacy to themselves and they don't honestly and genuinely connect with superiors and take help in, in uprooting the weeds which may be harmful to their spiritual life. Therefore, he said that he was telling about Indians, especially in India, people very easily fold palms and bow down very easily. It comes very naturally for them. But they are very reserved in revealing their difficulty, like Guhyamakyati Prichati, we say. Guhyamakyati Prichati. That type of revealing mind and taking help they don't do. So he was telling, therefore, even if somebody is ready to be regular, attending program and coming, going. So he said that more importantly, people should be, behaving from the heart, where they reveal their troubles and take help, he said. So how does that come about? Especially I am talking about the teenage as well as the college youths. We find that external obedience in India comes very easily, but internal submission lacks. So what makes them develop their internal submission?
Of course, part of the reason of being non-submissive for American kids born from India is the independence they gain from the watchful eyes of their parents. Correct? When they are here, of course, they see a sense of obedience because they are watchful eyes. So part of obedience is one of the reasons why we are obedient to whatever we are obedient to is fear. If the parents catch me drinking alcohol, right, then watch me, they find out that I'm smoking cigarettes, right? So one of the things which helps obedience is somebody being watchful over them. So even in our that's one of the things which comes to my mind. In America, of course, they don't have watchful eyes. They have peer friends who are all into all sorts of things. So what seems to be working, what seems to be useful is somebody who is their age or little bigger than their age, but is seen, as you said, as role model by them. In Iskcon, luckily, we have some devotees now who are not like old senior, because senior people they want to keep away from, because they will feel that they are like always like that, right? But I think we all need senior friends in Krishna consciousness who are purer than us or more committed than us, and yet are able to lower their behavioral stance to become more like our friend. So when that is there, like I remember when I was in BI, Sukhdev Maharaj was not very much senior to me in age, or Rasraj was not very senior to me in age, right? They were not, but they were like a friends. Rajhans Prabhu was not like a senior to me in age, right? No, these people, right? So when I joined, when I remember my past in Iskcon initial days, I had friends who were senior to me in age, but they were like my friends nonetheless. We could sit with them, chit chat with them, and yet because I could see they were more purer than me, they were more advanced than me, Dayana Prabhu was my friend, right? Dayana Prabhu was just 4-5 years elder to me, right? But he was what a brilliant person, IIT, this, that, right? So committed. So I think if you're somebody is just not too senior, but little senior to you in age, and yet who understands the dynamics of what our youth go through, what are their challenges they go through, because they go through challenges. You know, uh, the uh, uh, the soft part is that we see that they are victims of the times, right? Because then, when I grew up, or when you grew up, we didn't have the distractions which they go through. Is it not? There's no social media out there. There's no word like social media. It didn't exist. There was a social, there was a media. But there was nothing like social media was not there. Now they've come together, social media. Then the whole damn civilization is governed by social media. And that everything is, the whole life is centered around social media now. That becomes fulcrum of the entire life, right? Social media, right? They are not there. So they are victims of the times also. The generation they're growing through, right? So somebody who has gone through that himself, right, will be able to identify what they are going through also and be a little more sympathetic towards them, right? And then, as you say, with that person, they're going to go him back to the prison. I know what you're going through, and you're going through this, right? I mean, I went through the same problem. Yeah. So you can identify with them and to have a friendly talk, right? That person will probably whom are they willing to, not just do this externally, right? So people like Amarendra Prabhu and his brother Arjun Sakha and others, people like that. Many people like that, they were nice young people who are, and we should have more of. We require many more people like that. Many more people like that who are truly pure in heart, trustworthy in their consciousness, and yet who are like friends, right? That will be very, very useful. Uh, very useful. Because like in America, during Prabhupada's time, remember they were saying, the hippies have said, don't trust anybody above 30. So this is the trend now, this is a trend, unspoken trend. They may not verbalize it, but they'll say, don't trust anybody beyond a particular age, at whatever the age they may think. But they can trust somebody who is 5 years elder to them. Okay, Prabhupada was so special that he was 3 times their age, and yet they followed him completely. That was Prabhupada's purity, of course. But yeah, the trend is to not trust people who are sannyasis, swamis, they see, like that. They may not be seen with them. So more friendly, sakha. And a teenage needs no parental figure in his life, because he's fed up of parental type of, governance. At teenage, he wants friends. And that peer pressure governs his life more than parental. Right? So acknowledging that psychological dimension of a teenage person, we have to create more Krishna conscious friends for them. If we can create that as a society, I think we can take care of all these hundreds and hundreds of children who are, as you said, migrating from the east to the west. They have to be taken care of somebody. So I thank you all very much for your patient hearing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. I just read out one. I just found it's 2 minutes. I just came across this 2-3 lines of Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Prabhupada, and incidentally talked about obedience. So it may be useful to just see what Prabhupada has to say. The all good personality of Godhead, being the creator of the universe, also plans for the good of all good living beings. The good living beings are advised by the Lord to follow His good advice. And by doing so, they become successful in all spheres of life. There is no need to worship any deity but the Lord. The Lord is all powerful, and if He is satisfied by our obedience to His lotus feet, He is competent to bestow upon us all kinds of blessings for successful execution of both material and spiritual lives. Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna entering the land of Dwarka. Obedience. Thank you very well.
you.